You know, you could do anything. So bring in a DHL truck. It's absolutely no problem for us at this point. Well, we talked about collaboration and we talked about innovation and talked about driving positive change. Well, our next final keynote speaker has abundant experience in that. He's responsible for driving the sustainability agenda for him, and he does that with the top 100 of his customers of his firm. He is doing supply chain optimization, he's doing circular solutions, all kinds of things, and he's creating a Go Green portfolio. Well, he's going to share now his experiences. He's very open on what works, what doesn't work, so we're very happy that he's here. And he is just in the studio. So Florian Schwarz, please join me next to the DHL truck. It's good to see you, man.
Thank you, Ernst. Yeah, it's great to be here. I was listening a bit to the conversations in the background and chatted with some speakers, and it's really, really good. A lot of cool insights there.
Yeah, and everybody's very like-minded to really make the effort to get that extra step in sustainability in the supply chain, huh?
Yeah, it's a big challenge, for sure.
It's a big challenge. Well, you're going to talk about that. Florian is the head of sustainability at DHL Customer Solutions and Innovation. Just one question. I said you're working with lots of clients, the top 100 of your clients.
Yeah.
That seems a lot.
It is a lot, but I mean, you have to separate it. You have to organize how you do that for the company, and all customers are important, but there's some that are just very big and very demanding across the different business units, and that's the ones that we group in our team that coordinates that across the sectors.
Well, we're looking forward to all your lessons, so I would say go ahead. I'll be back in half an hour, maybe with some questions from the chat, and then we'll see what happens.
Let's do it like that.
All right.
Very good.
Have a go.
Yeah, so as Ren said, it's the Customer Solutions and Innovation Division, and we do that. We work with our top customers across all of the industry sectors, across the divisions there, and we also work on the innovation part, so we go together with customers and drive innovations, for example, in our warehouses, implementing robots arms and things like that. So that's our division. But I was asked to share a little bit of our journey as a company, Deutsche Post DHL, overall, of how we approach sustainability and how we bring that forward. So I figured it's good to do that along some of the topics here. One is, of course, our impact on the planet. I'll keep that short because we learned a lot about that already. We have a quick look at the emissions. Where do they come from? What does that mean for us, and how do we shape our roadmap as a company? How do we turn some of these things into products for customers and solutions for customers? And because we're in the Netherlands today, we'll have a quick deep dive into that. And then I have a couple of slides on an outlook and also touch on the topic of data. So our impact on the planet, why do we need to talk about sustainability? So our planet has a fever, and some of you may know that, may be familiar with that. Do you know what that is? And it's called warming stripes or climate stripes, and actually it's a pretty good visualization of the fever that our planet has. So you can see here from 1850 to 2020 how the temperature developed compared to an average year, and it's a bit painful there on the right side. It's quite up. And now you might say, that's great if it gets warmer, we have to do less heating. That's very good in the current times if we can do less heating. Maybe you spend the summer holidays in the Netherlands and don't have to fly abroad, which is also fantastic, but it's going to have a significant impact on us as humans. And the Paris Climate Agreement, they said we should keep the global warming to 1.5 to 2 degrees. And if you only look at this half degree, that will already have a significant impact. It will be 2 times worse, 10 times worse, depending on what you look at. So it's very important to have a look into this. If we don't do something, we are going to be faced with some climate tipping points. So for example, if you look at the ice fields that we have in the north and south of our planet, if they disappear, they don't reflect the sunlight anymore, and then it's going to be even quicker in warming. And if we don't do something, we end up at 4 to 5 degrees. Now just imagine how the numbers here will look if we end up there. So, you know, the planet does not need us, but we need our planet. So we need to do something to avoid the emissions that we have. And let's have a closer look at where these emissions come from. It's probably a bit too small to see on the screen for everyone, but we as humans emit about 50 billion tons of CO2 per year. And transport stands for 16% roughly out of that. And again, if we look at the transport, 3/4 come from the road freight, and a bit over 10% come from the maritime and from the aviation area, and a little bit from rail. On the other side here, I put some of the European countries, just for reference. So they together emit about 4 billion tons per year. And if you now look, where does our company stand in that? Deutsche Post DHL, we are between Croatia and Slovakia from a country size. And that's what I tell to my team and the people I work with. If we're able to engage our top customers to work with us and get the emissions down by 2030, we just heard that from Bayer, they've set their target for that, or by 2050 latest, then we can have a significant impact. We can move the needle, and we can really implement sustainability at massive scale. Huh? What's the title of that one? So how do our emissions as a group look? I think some of the background here disappeared, but I think it's not a problem to see the key numbers. So about 1/4 of our emissions are in the scope 1. So our own aircraft fleet, our vehicles that we have. The scope 2, so the electricity that we use, is pretty small, also because we already use a lot of green electricity there. And a big part is the scope 3, so everything that we work together with our suppliers, if we use an aircraft by one of the cargo airlines and things like that. And on the other side, if we look at our modes of transport that we operate, it's a bit different to what we saw from the overall transport emissions. So for us, 2/3 of our emissions come from air freight related activities. And that means if we want to decarbonize, we have to work on that. And also, COVID told us that it's probably not going to go down significantly. We saw prices skyrocket at some moments, and we still saw the demand increasing. So probably there's still going to be a big demand for air freight. And we have to see how we integrate that into our roadmap to decarbonize here. So over the past 14 years, our CEO, Frank Appel, he strongly positioned us as a company as a pioneer in the field of sustainability. And he personally has a very strong belief that we need to act, we need to make a substantial impact to leave the planet in a better way than it is today for our kids, for our children. Personally, I have a couple of small girls, and if I look at the temperature that we saw before and how that developed over the last 43 years that I'm alive, I'm a bit scared of how it's going to look over the next 80 years of their life. So I definitely share the need that we need to do something. And that's a bit of a look to the past. What have we done as a company? So already in 2008, we started with a Go Green program. So that was a climate protection program. We set ourselves some numbers to actually measure and work towards a goal. In 2014, we integrated sustainability into the core of our corporate strategy. We even produced some vehicles, some electric vehicles at some time here in 2015. And in 2017, so after the Paris Agreement, we committed to a net carbon zero by 2050 as a first logistics company. By now, there's many others. Some have even more ambitious goals, and that's great because we have to do that together. Last year, we shared our new sustainability roadmap, and the roadmap comprises all 3 areas of sustainability, so the environment, the social, and the governance piece. And the environmental piece we named for us the clean operations for climate protection. The social is the great company to work for all, and the governance is a highly trusted company. And we have a lot of different things going on in all of the areas at local level, at global level, and today have a closer look at the environmental part, just because that's what's really demanded at the moment. And we set ourselves a target as a company, a science-based target, to have our emissions to less than 29 million tons by 2030. And if we look at our numbers here from 2019 as a baseline, and even we published today our new numbers there, which have gone up a little bit. With the business growth, we're going to first go up quite a bit before we can go down. So there will be a significant effort needed to bring down our emissions to that level. And that's what we have our roadmap created for. And that's the underlying assumption or the underlying approach. In the past, we and everybody in the logistics industry was able to reduce the emissions by working on the efficiency, right? So making the right carrier selection, using different technology for engines and things like that. And that's the first S-curve, which you see on the left side there. But if we want to get a true decarbonization, we have to do that in the core of our activities, and we have to leverage clean technology and especially clean fuels. And that's what we then call to burn clean. And again, it's probably very small in the details here of a slide, but when we look at the energy, the fuel that we have available, it's very clear that in the next 10 years, we are strongly depending on the biological fuels, the biofuels that we can put into the planes, that we can put in the trucks, and also in vessels. Getting closer to 2050, there's probably going to be alternative technologies available there, synthetic fuels, maybe something based on ammoniac, maybe hydrogen trucks. And of course, on the road, there's a big opportunity in electrification, but also that is not obvious. There are certain hurdles in that, and we get to that in a bit as well. But that's how we see the opportunity to actually get to that mission 2050. So turning the roadmap now a bit more into specific actions, we said we probably need to invest 7 billion to make that work until 2030. And we're committing to certain actions in the different fields of our activities. So in aviation, we say we will have a 30% blend of sustainable aviation fuel in our aircraft. On the road, we want to electrify the last mile and also the main haul, line haul activities there with electric trucks. We want to apply a carbon neutral design to all of our new buildings that we put in place. We want to leverage the sustainable fuels also in the ocean area. And we want to have a green decarbonizing product available to all of our core products so that the customers can take part in that and they can decide how much they want to decarbonize their business activities. Getting a bit more in the details of how do we offer that as products and what other things are we doing, what pilots are we doing. So this is our Go Green portfolio. And underlying is, of course, the transparency. You need to understand the carbon emissions. As a customer, you need them to be able to report on it, but also to know where you are as a starting point to then optimize it. The optimization part in general, we see one part being the efficiency. So that's where we implement teardrop trailers, where we put LED lighting, where we optimize the network of customers together with them. On the other side as well, the circularity. So we are looking at a lot of solutions that we can implement together with customers that is about managing returns, having sustainable packaging, reusable packaging, avoiding waste. So the whole area of the optimization. Offsetting, which was also discussed today by some parties, we don't think it's the long-term solution, but it can still help. And we offer it for our customers for the cases where they want to reach 100% decarbonization, and that's not yet possible with the technology. And the main new part is on the left side, which is the clean fuel and technology area of our portfolio. We call that the Go Green Plus. And here's one example of what we launched just recently, a couple of weeks ago, but it's already in place with some customers since some time. So that is our Air Freight Go Green Plus service. And we use insetting, so we replace in the transport the fossil fuel with sustainable fuel. And if you replace it 1 liter with 1 liter, you're able to achieve about 70 to 80% emission reductions in there, which is a great number. But that, of course, means you don't cover the other parts, which is the pre-carriage, the on-carriage, and also the whole part that's the well to tank, so the production of the fuel and the distribution of the fuel in the end. And that piece we can offer with offsetting to the customer to also cover it. And we've higher standards on that. We're also working with all the auditing partners on making sure that what we have here we can really offer. And we would then give, at the end of the year, certificates to our customer that prove the decarbonization effort they have made, and they can take it up with their auditors on it. So this is just a couple of examples of what we shared as well here in press releases of activities we're doing. This is the one I just mentioned about the air freight product. And the nice thing about it is really that it's available around the globe. Because it's one atmosphere, you can attribute it to where you want, and you can then decide, let's go with one main lane and decarbonize our activities on that main lane to get some experience on how that works. And in order to be able to offer that to our customers, we recently purchased 33 million liters of sustainable fuel in partnership here with Air Force KLM. If you look at that, we're estimating to consume that in 3 years, but that would mean that this is about 10% of the current supply of sustainable fuel. So it's still a very scarce resource, and it's also fairly expensive, which makes it a thing that still has to be developed further, but we have to start and have to work on that. In ocean freight, we already started with that activity a good year ago. So since the beginning of last year, for the LCL activities, all of our customers benefit from a decarbonized product there, so they don't have to buy it. Essentially, it's part of the overall rate of the overall package. We also offer it for FCL for the customers if they're interested in that. A bit more in the piloting area now. So we're piloting also bio-LNG with a customer of ours here and a fuel provider. That's in the Nordics, happening at the moment. Also in the road area, we're piloting hydrogen trucks, and this is between the Netherlands and Belgium, so just around the corner here, to learn something there. And we have a closer look at the Netherlands later. We said in the beginning we need to decarbonize our buildings and have a carbon neutral design for all new buildings. So here with Total Energies, which is a customer and also fuel provider to us, we're working to put solar panels on our facilities. And because we depend heavily on our suppliers, we're also working with them and certifying them if they take significant efforts to decarbonize their activities in the business. And that helps us, of course, in the end, reduce the scope 3 that we have. A bit more of a futuristic look here. That's about aviation, electric planes. So we announced last year that we're buying 12 of these planes. They are not flying yet, they are still being created, but the maiden flight is expected to take place in April this year. So I think we're very close to a first step of making that happen. Again, that's for a short to mid-term distance, so it's not gonna solve the whole problem of the long haul flights, but again here, it's important to start and to learn from these opportunities. Another part that's also part of sustainability is everything around circularity. So here we feel that the logistics industry can play a key role as an enabler to make sure that circularity models can come to life. We shared a bit more about that. I'm not going to go into details, but we issued a white paper earlier this year and we had a webinar on that. We still have a couple of deep dive sessions coming on that. So for the technology, that's tomorrow, and for the fashion, that's end of month. If you're interested, just scan the QR code with a mobile phone, you get to that, or just Google delivering on circularity. You'll find it as well. But also here we want to go in conversations with our customers. Now a deep dive on the Netherlands. When I think of the Netherlands, I think of bicycles, and I just talked to a couple of other persons here that came over to the Netherlands, and when they walk out of the hotel in the morning, they also think of bicycles, so it's something you definitely don't get around. But it's great because bikes really help in decarbonizing and avoiding emissions in the first place. They help making the cities more livable by reducing the noise. We have them in the Netherlands, we have them in Japan on the last mile, and also more pilots in the US, Mexico, Germany. And I think that's really a promising thing for the last mile activities. With the electric vehicles, we're already a bit further as well. So we have the plan in the Netherlands to be completely electrified by 2025. That's what you see on the top right. You need different types of vehicles for the different activities that you do, and it's not obvious to apply them. So if we look at Rotterdam, which is the first completely electrified city today already, we're using the concepts of the city hubs in that. So those are locations for where we can do the to-B and the to-C shipments, and they're located in the outskirts of the city. And because of that, you're then able to get a higher density, you're able to get shorter routes, and that allows for the application of the electric vehicles and also of the bikes. Slightly different concept here that we have in Amsterdam. So that's the green district concept, where we allocate the zero-emission vehicles to a postal code. so that an end customer can see, they get a flag there in the website or the track and trace activities they have, that their delivery was completely emission-free on the last mile. And of course, another concept to be scaled up, right? So the city hubs that we're using and that we're developing here in the Netherlands, we said in the beginning that we have in the roadmap the carbon neutral designs for all new buildings. So of course that also applies to the city hubs here. And a bit more in the detail, and that's not only true for the Netherlands, but that's also for our global approach from the facilities. We identify technologies that are standard technologies that we can apply to all of the new warehouses that we design. And that would then be to put a solar panel on the roof, to do some rain harvesting, activities like that. And we have another few levers where we say that's the more advanced ones. You can't do them immediately or in all sites, but you can have a battery storage, you can have a windmill, and you can have just overall building automation, maybe even with artificial intelligence to make sure that you get the most saving for setting up the building. And a quick outlook, just the first topic, data. I mean, if you work with FourKites, you're certainly aware of the importance and the potential behind data. Very simply, you need the data to understand your own carbon footprint, so have carbon reporting at the end of the year, and be able to decide of what you want to do to optimize that. But it's also quite challenging of getting the right attribution. So if you take an example, you have a parcel, same parcel on the one day, it moves on a full truck on a very short route and is dropped off as the first parcel. Or you have a parcel, same size, that travels a longer route in a half full truck and is dropped off at the end of the route. What carbon footprint do you allocate to that parcel? What do you tell the customer? So it's very important to have certain standards around that, and certain standards exist, but they have to be fine-tuned a little bit. So we work with the Smart Freight Center, who's defined the GLEC framework for the greenhouse gas calculation in logistics, and also developing a new ISO standard there just to be sure that whatever we do, we can have the right data and sharing it in the right way as well. And you may have some customers that are interested in really having that data even before a shipment moves. So if you think about a retail company, they're selling something to their customers on their website, and maybe they want to give the opportunity to the customer to pay for a decarbonized delivery, if that's not yet automatically happening. But then you need to be able to give that data to them. And another phenomenon, so a bit bigger scale, when we optimize the networks together with our customers and do the network analysis and all that, in the past, it was always about cost on the one side and then the delivery time, so the quality, if you want, on the other side. And we see that we need to also consider the third element now, the carbon emissions. So you have to be in a way where you can tie these things together and consider that as well. So in there, you need data, and you need the good data in the right place. And even a bit more into the future, if you really want to leverage sustainability, how can you optimize that? We have to exchange the right data to make sure that the transport demand is matched with the right supply, the right energy sources for all that. Of course, it's a lot of hurdles and a bit of a dream of making all that work, but that has to be the ambition because that will make it so much more efficient in the end. So a couple of takeaways, what we touched today, and I have then still one gift for you afterwards. Climate change is real. I think everybody is aware. We set our goal in the science-based target to be less than 29 million tons of CO2, which is the size of a smaller European country, so quite significant. Our main part comes from aviation activities, so sustainable fuel has to be the main thing in the next decade. We productize that, so we have a Go Green Plus portfolio to decarbonize activities, and customers can decide of how much they want to do. Netherlands is a front runner clearly in that one, and Rotterdam already fully electrified. And yeah, again, data is a key role in decarbonizing the logistics. So yeah, thank you for staying with me until here. If you want, you can now get out your mobile phone and scan the QR code here. So the journey to full decarbonization, I mean, that's going to be a long one, but we can take a mini step today. We can plant a tree. So if you want, you can plant a tree right now.
Wow. we're planting trees today.
Yeah, I mean, again, right, it's offsetting, it's a small thing,
Yeah.
but it's a symbolic thing and it engages you as a person. I think that's great.
Yeah, that's true. And if we scan the QR code, we're planting a tree. That's actually...
Yeah, you can choose between 4 different trees.
Oh, really?
Actually.
Oh, I'm going to do that. I'm going to keep the slide so I can do that as well. Florian, thank you very much. It was great to have you. I have some Q&A. Is that okay?
Yeah.
So I was wondering, because you're the biggest challenge is aviation. You just told me, and the biggest fix there is alternative fuels, right? So as it happens to be, I talked with KLM about that just 2 months ago, and I have the feeling that everybody is almost fighting for that sustainable aviation fuels. So will there be enough?
I think that's a very good question in the end. Yes, it's a very scarce resource,
right.
And people are fighting. I mean, you see as well how the price went up. So when we sell that to customers, we stick to the cost of purchasing it. So we don't make additional money off that fuel, right? And we have seen the price go up already in the last months. So that's why it's important to save it early and make the commitments for that. And I would say even plan ahead, because right now it's all small amounts, right? It's just to get the experience about it.
Yeah.
But when you look at 2030, many companies have set their goals to reach a certain level at 2030.
Right.
And if you then suddenly 29 think, oh, I have to do a big thing now because it's an expensive one, so I wait a bit longer until that, there may not be enough at that moment.
Right.
So it's indeed a big challenge enough of that.
Yeah, so start planning is actually what
yeah, start planning and start discovering how it works, how you can get the certificate, how your auditors see that you can actually get that one as well to work for your carbon footprint. Yeah.
Right. So because you're at DHL, you're driving that sustainable supply chain. Who is pushing more? Is that you, or is it your customers, or pulling more? If you want to say.
We are pushing, of course, a lot, but it's very different from the customers. We have customers who are very advanced in that. They understand all the technologies. They're asking about the very details of what is the source, the feedstock for the fuel, and how do we combine that and all these things. And you have other customers that are at a very early stage, and they are thinking, oh, we have to do something now. I was told I have to do something now. How do I approach that? And
let's call Florian.
Yeah. No, and, well, I mean, we have a team. It's not me. You said that in the beginning, right? It's a big company. It's a lot of people with a lot more experience than I have for working on that. But yeah, so we go together, sit with the customer, understand where are they in their journey, and then depending on where they are, we start with them, setting up a roadmap. What's the thing they should be doing, and yeah, help them to start from the point where they are at the moment.
Right, great. So what we've been telling all this day is it's all about innovation. It's all about also about willpower, but innovation doesn't go a straight line from A to B. So we try and fail and get up again. And so yeah, I don't know if you can share, but is there anything that you, it didn't go that well, but you learned a lot from? Could you open up on that?
I mean, you learn from many things. I guess as a company, one thing is we said very early we want to produce an electric vehicle because it wasn't out in the market, the street scooter. So we partnered with the University of Aachen, bought that company and started producing them. But of course, we are not a car manufacturer. So we have maybe a little less scale, a little less way of getting that, also the cost base where it has to happen. And by now, the good thing is there are many other providers out there with whom we can work. You have Ford, you've many with whom we work on decarbonizing and electrifying vehicles. And now we're in the position that we can buy some of them. So that's why we said we stopped the activities. But from that perspective, you could consider, is it a failure? But it was certainly a learning experience. But again, it was a good side because it pushed the market to work further on that.
Right. Florian, thank you very much. It was great having you as the final keynote speaker. Hopefully a lot of people were inspired. I know that a lot of people were inspired. And hopefully we're planting trees as well right now. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I enjoyed it. And I hope everybody took out some new things, some learnings. That would be great.
That will be great.